Simon, time to get up for church.
Good morning, everyone. With the pandemic disrupting so many of your beloved traditions right now, the youth at Mount Olive, with the help of my dad and Pastor Ryan, have put together this video to help make Homecoming Sunday special. And we've enlisted some of the youth at Hearts to help. Enjoy.
Miss Arndt, thank you for joining me today. My first question for you is, how long have you been a member of Mount Olive?
I have been a member since the day I was born. And I was born in 1931. And if you want to figure it up, it's a good math problem.
What is your favorite memory of the church?
My favorite memories are, of course, selfish. It was the day Glenn and I were married in the old church. And then the two Sundays when my children were baptized in the new church.
Miss Arndt, you have done a lot of work on the history of Mount Olive. If you had to choose one event that shaped us into the congregation we are today, what would it be and why?
I would choose one that probably not many remember, but we were getting ready to build our new church. Everyone wanted a new church. I don't think that any of us realized that we were going to have to sacrifice in order to get the church. So our building committee got together, hired an architect. The architect contacted a builder, got one that would accept the job. And from there, he estimated the cost. And we found out that no one in Hickory would loan us the money that we needed. And so we decided that maybe we just weren't supposed to have a new church. But the building committee and council were very persistent, and they came up with a plan. And they asked every member to put their house or any valuable property they had on the line and sign a paper, which is still in the archives of our church, that they would be willing to do without sometimes a house, sometimes a piece of property, and give that to the church so we could have this church. Well, in the end, almost everyone signed that paper. And believe it or not, the building fund offering started blooming, and we got many, many more pledges than we ever had before. And we also had their names down that they would give their house or property to finance that church building. And in the end, we got the church. No one lost anything because they were giving more to the building fund. And we did get it financed, and we have the church today.
That is so cool. I've never heard of that before. You taught both of my parents. Which one was the better student?
Well, that will always be a secret.
Mr. Siebach, thank you for joining me today. My first question is, how long have you been a member from Mount Olive?
I've been a member all my life. I was born along with my twin brother on December the 5th, 1927. We were baptized on January the 1st, 1928 by Pastor C.N. Young. And I can remember my mother telling the story about she and my dad carrying each one of us through the snow from our home over on Old 29th Avenue to the church for our baptism. And then I, along with 14 other young people, was confirmed on March the 29th, 1942 by Pastor Walter Siebach.
What's your favorite memory of the church?
Well, I have a lot of favorite memories, and probably one of the ones that I think about is in 1955, we had made plans to construct a new educational building, had the tentative plans ready, and had a congregational meeting to discuss it. And during that period, during that discussion and during that meeting, it was brought out the need for an additional room in our sanctuary. So before the meeting was over, we had voted instead of constructing a Christian education building. The congregation voted unanimously to begin construction on a new sanctuary.
Mr. Siebach, I've heard a great story about a dare you accepted at the choir practice when you were a boy. How old were you at the time, and share some details?
This was when I was 8 or 9 years old, or maybe 8 years old. It was at Bible school one summer, and our teacher was very strict disciplinarian, so we had to really toe the line. But back in those days, during the Depression, we had to kind of create our own entertainment, so we figured this was some entertainment. But anyway, I was challenged or dared by one of my cousins to jump out the window. And the window was only about 3 feet down to the ground in the old educational building. And so when the teacher turned her back to us, well, I jumped out the window. And my first thought after I got out the window was, what I do next? And I ended up going home. And so word soon got to my parents what I had done. And so I got punished by my father and mother. And needless to say, I have not jumped out of any windows since then.
Ms. Huffman, thank you for coming today. I have a few questions for you. My first question for you is, how long have you been a member of Mount Olive?
73 years. When I graduated from high school in 1947 and moved to Hickory, I moved my membership to Mount Olive, and it's been here ever since.
That's wonderful. What is your favorite memory of the church?
Oh, there are so many memories of this church for me. But I would have to mention that one of the most exciting ones was when we broke ground for our educational building. That was in 1969. And I happened to be one of the fortunate people to be able to take the shovel and break the ground.
Ms. Huffman, you were one of the first women elected to church council in the 1960s. Thank you for blazing that trail, by the way. How has the role of women changed in the church during your lifetime?
Well, we had not had any women on our church council here at all. But Anna Lee Bach and I were both nominated from the floor, and we were both elected. We had some people in our church who wasn't very happy about that, but that didn't matter. We went ahead and done our job, and we have had women on our church council from then on, and we have women on all of our committees, some of them even chairmen. We have had church pastors that have been women, vicars. Women have really played a big part in our church in the last 70 years that I know about.
Well, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me today.
Mrs. Hitchcock, thank you for joining me today. My first question is, how long have you been a member at Mount Olive?
Probably 50 years on and off.
What is your favorite memory of the church?
I have so many wonderful memories of the time when our family was here at Mount Olive, and they all begin with the caring, supportive, wonderful people of the congregation. When we first arrived, the congregation was made up mainly of people who living in surrounding areas. Many were families that were related. And we call these people the backbone of Mount Olive. And then when we were here for a while, a group of people came in who had gone to Lenore Rhine together. And so between the two, the backbone and this group, it was a wonderful congregation. So memories are of the people who gave themselves to care and support for Walt and for our family, for others, for themselves. And you ask me what my favorite memory is of Mount Olive, the people. The people worked together at Mount Olive to help each other, help in the community, and it even went so far as to be one of the first congregations to adopt a Vietnamese refugee that the Lutheran Church had brought in from Vietnam. And we fixed up a house, renovated it, got the furniture, had food for them, and just showed them love so that they would feel good when they came to Hickory and to our country. And then I fondly remember the way the congregation backed me with a 5-year-old kindergarten. Whatever I asked for, it was there, not just monetary, but people. And also with the chair of choir, we wanted new choir robes. We wanted choir robes, period. And within a week, the money was there and the robes were ordered. So I have one last one I would like to emphasize, and that is the way Mount Olive cares for the interns who come from the seminaries. This was one of Walt's favorite parts of his ministry, and that still is happening today.
Mrs. Hitchcock, your husband has been a well-loved pastor at Mount Olive for 23 years. By all accounts, he was a gifted church leader whose positive impact is still felt by our congregation. What was his hope for Mount Olive's future?
Well, this is easy. I found it in a booklet that he had written in the 1985. It was the 100th year anniversary booklet, and he talked about the legacy that of Mount Olive. And number one, it would be to continue to preach Christ crucified and risen from the dead, which is done very well by your dad. Continue to be a blessing of your own into the community, and people certainly do this. Continue to proclaim the mighty deeds of God. And number 4, and lastly, to continue to pray for the coming of the kingdom and to live as though it were coming this afternoon.
On a scale of 1 to 10, with the lowest being 1 and the highest being 10, your Pastor Hitchcock was a solid 10. My question for you is, where would you rate my dad on that scale?
Who wrote these questions?
My dad.
Oh, well, let me think.
Take your time.
How low does this scale go?
Well, we are out of time. I want to say thank you for joining me, and thank you everyone for joining us looking back and forward in our ministry together. Well, for the future of Mount Olive, I hope that we are all doing well in 50 or 100 years, hopefully. And I just hope that we all are happy and we're all together.
One hope that I have for Mount Olive is that we get more youth and that we can go on more trips with the youth and have lots of fun.
I would like church to grow and evolve into a happy, joyful place with joyful music and smiling people. I want to feel loved and cared for when I come to this church. I want us to continue to be a strong, put-together group of people. I would love to let more little kids into the church just so they could too learn about God. Who knows, maybe it could change their perspective of how they see the world. I just want us to continue to be the strong community that we have today.